Hello, everybody. My name is Gavin, and today I'm doing a coverage of the poll trackers in the Canadian election. I did a video on this before, and I watched it over, and I realized I sounded very dumb. I sounded very dumb. I just want to clear that in the Canadian political system, we do not do electoral vote like the United States do. So I talked like it as it was, and it sounded like I was talking as if we did do the electoral vote system, but we don't. So when I looked at all the different provinces, and there weren't any territories, but when I looked at all the different provinces in Canada, I realized that when I talked, it sounded like that there were electoral votes coming from them. Because I said, oh, they could win this province. Oh, they could lose this province. Well, it's not a matter of winning or losing provinces. It's just a gain of seats. Electoral vote goes as then when a state is won, I'm not sure how it, but the amount of electoral colleges that are in that state amount to the vote. So yeah, there's 500, and I don't actually know the math, but you need 270 something, 270 the to win the to win the presidency in the United States. I don't know as much as I do about the Canadian system, but I know that fact because everybody's been following up on the United States politics. Even if you're not from that country, you know a lot about what's going on because their president is usually in the news all the time. Even if you don't support him, he's usually always in the news. So we're back here at the CBC's coverage, and people are probably going to get angry at me for using CBC, but I'm going to go to various different sites where the weight is gathered, and I found this on different sites, not just CBC. I know that the weight is in different areas. So, um, we need to look at BC and Ontario. That's what I said I was going to do in last video. So it's going to take a while for me to get down. But here's the latest poll. So December 13th to 18th. So this is not complete constant, but I'm going to try and show you here. There's some different data that I didn't cover from here. Okay. So 2,000 Canadian, they surveyed, I don't know. Okay, so here's what I'm looking at now. We are not just looking at the poll tracker. When the poll tracker is edited, we will look at that again. But we're going to look at a lot of different things. So this is what they've been covering. So we're only going to talk about the Canadian. So in the US, it's very low, but we're not going to talk about that. So in Canada, 42% say that they like how it's going. They like how our country is headed. They like the direction it's headed. They like the policies that the Liberals are showing. 35% disagree with it. So it's still strong. 35% disagree, and they say they're not sure. They're not sure. They're not sure how our country is going. They think it's going wrongly. They think that we should have new management, and they think that the Liberal Party is doing poorly. 23% are unsure. So they're unsure whether we're doing good or bad. So, the result. So regional differences with a gap 12 plus 12 gap in BC and 5 in Ontario. So lower gap in Ontario is how it's looking. Alberta is not high right now because Alberta has actually been recently in the news because of the amount of jobs that they have been losing. In fact, there has been independence movement in Alberta recently, which is actually kind of scary as a Canadian because if Alberta leaves, that could do a lot of things that hurt Canada. Not just Alberta, Canada as well. So this is the what the percent of people who would consider voting each party. So 53% consider voting Liberal, so highest by 5%. So they're higher. They're in the lead by 5%. 48% consider voting Conservative. So they're also there. This is only the four major parties. The PPC hasn't been covered yet because they aren't as prominent, but they will get. In my opinion, the PPC will be much like the NDP. It's a split of the left the NDP and the Liberals is a split of the left vote. The PPC and the Conservatives will be a split of the right vote. So this will hurt the Conservative Party in time, I think, if their party remains. But I don't think Maxime Bernier will keep that party going for long. So 45% would vote NDP, 48% would vote Conservative, and 36% would vote Green. So the Greens are the fourth party, but not with seats, with vote. Let's see. How would you vote tomorrow? People are saying this is very close. So the blocks are at a 4% ratio for most of the time. The Greens are at 77%. I almost said 70. That would have been very insane. So 7%. The NDPs are at 17%, and the Conservatives are at 34%, with the Liberals at 35%. However, we have to note that the vote difference in percentage does not mean that there will be more seats or less seats. It means that there's just more people voting for one party. It doesn't mean that so if the Conservatives are at 36 and the Liberals are at 33, just in an alternate scenario, let's say, the Liberals could still win the House of Commons because the seats are the things that matter, not the vote. And I'm not sure if there are any countries that do it solely by the vote. If they do, let me know. The electoral system is not by the vote; it's by electoral college votes, and most of them go. There's different districts. I think, but they vote for an electoral college. If that state goes for, like, if that state gets more votes in Democrat than Republican, then the electoral college vote goes to the candidate. So I want to know if there's a country that does it solely by the vote, not electoral college or just parliament with MPs. So this is the vote intention, and this shows all the various different sectors of Canada, the ones that can vote. The North is not very prominent because it only has 3 seats out of the entire 3 territories. So Atlantic, 49% are Liberal, 23% are Conservative, and 13% NDP. So this is, as I said again, very Liberal vote. Quebec, there's 5 parties here. This is very different. I'm seeing a lot of high Green vote, which I did not see in the CBC. So this is very different. So Quebec, as I said again, Liberal are winning here, 35% to 19%, 14% to 9% to 17%. So the Blocs are ahead of the NDP in seats and in votes. Ontario, the other battleground state, which is 49% in Liberals, so 2% ahead of the Conservatives, which is at 37%. The NDPs are at 18%, so they can take some votes off of the Liberal vote, which I said is important because if the NDP do well, then the Conservatives are going to do well, because the NDP is basically a split from the Liberal vote because they're both leftist parties. Now BC, it's polled as 11% for the Greens, 4% for Alberta and the Greens, 10%. So there are 3 different parties where it's either rounded up to 10. There are 4 different provinces or territories or sectors in Canada, regions in Canada, that are rounded up to 10% for the Greens, which is very good for them. 7% predict that the Greens will vote 7% for the Greens. So they're doing well, which is also technically a split of the leftist vote. But they are very leftist because they only focus on one thing, the environment. Which is why if the Greens do get voted, let's just say in 20 years, the Greens get extremely recognized. They for some reason win an election. They would only focus on the environment, and the Canadian economy would probably crumble. Which is why parties are trying, like the Conservatives, Liberals, and NDP, try to balance it out with their policies, even though some people disagree with various policies in Canada. The Liberals are like the Democrats in USA, and the Conservatives are like Republicans. The NDP are also like the Democrats, but far left. The Liberals trying to be the balanced party, which is why they're trying to get more conservative vote, because the conservative vote is big. So for the likelihood to change support, 7% say very likely to change support. 36 say somewhat likely, and 35% say not very likely. 22% not at all likely. So we know that the Liberals, the Conservatives, the NDPs will probably keep their vote. The NDP could get up to 56%. So 56% could switch to NDP, which, if this happens, there would be an increase for the NDP, and that would be for the better, probably for the Conservative Party, because the NDP, as I said again, not winning this election. The Conservatives will probably win if the NDP do well. If the NDP do not do well, as I said again, the Liberals will win. So, where would the switchers go? 23%. So the Liberals would switch, 36% of Liberals would switch to Conservatives. 40% of Conservatives would switch to Liberals. And the Greens would switch to the NDP, because the NDP, as I said, is more left, and the Green is even far left than the NDP. So the NDPs obviously are not, since they are far left, they would not switch as much as the Conservatives than to the Liberals, which is why 45% would switch to Liberals. Okay, so preferred Prime Minister. This is very interesting. So Jagmeet Singh and Elizabeth May are tied 10%, which means Elizabeth May could poll higher than Jagmeet Singh in the election. Okay, hold on. All right. Okay. That was a bit of a delay. So, Elizabeth May can poll higher than Jagmeet Singh in the preferred Prime Minister. Andrew Scheer is going to stay second place with 29%, and Justin Trudeau is 45%. So Maxime Bernier, 5%, who, as I said again, PPC leader, People's Party of Canada. So with 5% less than both Jagmeet Singh, Elizabeth May, Andrew Scheer, and Justin Trudeau. Okay. Okay, so in Alberta, 45% would go for Andrew Scheer. Saskatchewan, 44% would go for Andrew Scheer as well. I'm going to try and find all the Andrew Scheerers. So there's 2 Andrew Scheer voters, and then for BC, 42% for Justin Trudeau. For 41% in Manitoba, so that's a leader, and then Ontario 48%. So that's very high, and then Quebec 46, and Atlantic's 56. So currently 4 would go for Justin Trudeau, and 2 for Andrew Scheer. Okay. So here's the preferred election outcome. 39% would prefer a Liberal government, while 33% would prefer a Conservative government. An NDP government, which is still here because the NDP is the third party, and they still have an official party status. So 15% go for an NDP government. Okay. 13% for another party forming government, which won't happen. So they're saying that this is the closest federal horse race we've measured since the last election. I would like to give all my credit to the abacusdata.ca. So this is where I got all my work, if you would like to check it out yourself. I give them credit on this thing, and there's the contact for them. If you want to talk to them, get their take on the election, the Canadian election. And I forgot to cite my work last time for who would win, so I'm going to do that in the description, just so that CBC doesn't copy strike my video and take it down. But they probably won't see it because no one views my videos. So, okay. Alright, so this is where I got most of my data. I think I'm about to end. I would like to see, though, where I am. Yeah, 37, 36. Okay, so I'm going to end it there. Hope you guys enjoyed this little political video. I will do one every week. So I've pre-recorded this, actually. I recorded 2 of them at the same time, like one after the other. So this is the end of the video. So, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, comment down below. Comment down below your political opinion on Canada and how you're going to vote. I'm gonna respond to anyone who comments. So, all right, goodbye.